from tragedy to strength and hope. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the special tribute show of Studio 9 honoring the community of El Paso. I'm your host, Patricia Maese, and we are El Paso Strong. It was a Saturday morning like none other. An armed gunman walks into an El Paso Walmart and starts firing. The casualties, many. 22 dead, dozens wounded. The community is left broken-hearted. A memorial erected honoring the lives lost. El Paso Strong rises, and now resonates with a community focused on healing. Joining me now is Pastor Charles Neiman. Now let's talk about this tragedy. How does a community begin the healing process from here?
Well, a couple of weeks ago when it all happened, I came in on the weekend and spoke to our church, and I gave them some thoughts, things that we felt would be important. And a couple of those things was number one, we felt was to tell them, that this was as our mayor said, and I thought brilliantly said, this was an act of hate that was imported.
Yes.
This wasn't us, and this has never been us. And let's focus on that.
Yeah.
Let's not go around town and say, we have this problem. Well, we've never had this problem here. And so, let's keep looking at each other the way we have. And one of the things I said to the community, to our church was, one of the things I've always loved, born and raised here, was I always felt welcome here. And I think, we bring in people from other countries, other states, other parts of the world, and they come in and they say, this is the friendliest city I've ever been to. And so let's fight to hold on to that. Let's not allow what was imported to change us. Let's be who we are, Second, I said, let's not be pulled into the political thing. Let's not be politicized. This was an act of hate.
Yes.
That's what it was. But let's not become haters. Let's not hate this young man. Let's not hate this. Let's not hate that. No, because if we do, then that wins. And the Bible promises in the book of Romans that good will overcome evil. So let's be good. Let's be good to each other. Let's not just walk by people. Let's pay attention to them. Let's care about them. And I was very blunt, and I am very blunt. And I said, this week I want you to go out and find somebody that doesn't look like you and reach across the room, and hug them and ask them how they are and are they okay. Let's not allow this division to come in. And the third thing that I say was, we can't be ruled by fear.
Oh yeah, so important.
We can't. We cannot be ruled by fear. 365 times, Patty, in the Bible it says, don't be afraid. Isn't that interesting? Not 340, not 390.
Every day of the year.
365 times. God says, don't be afraid.
Our hearts are filled with sadness, as is every other El Pasoan, and we just wanted to come and help them get through that. And if it's even for a split second where we're giving them a hug, that sadness and pain goes away, that split second is suffice for both of us.
Studio 9 sponsored by Tropicana Homes, building homes in the El Paso area for more than 69 years. Tropicana has been recognized locally and across the state multiple times as the Best Builder of the Year and Best Developer of the Year. There are 9 Tropicana communities currently serving the El Paso area. Find out more about Tropicana on our website at ktsm.com and click on the Studio 9 tab.
Was lost, but now.
All of our officers, I mean, you can name the Sheriff's Department, DPS, Border Patrol, INS, you know, we had constables, Socorro PD, Horizon PD, you name it. They all responded instantly to basically stop the situation from escalating, you know, past what we have today. It's very difficult on the officers who are here. I know it's very difficult on the community, but most of my officers basically swallow it, take it home and try to deal with it, and it's very difficult. We are members of the community. We will get through it. We'll push past it. If you need the help of any of my officers, don't hesitate to stop. You know, tell them thank you. It would do a lot to help them, and it would do a lot to help the citizens, but I think together as a group, we'll get through it. We are El Paso Strong.
So why is it important and for us as a community to default to hope and peace and healing? And because it's very easy to get angry. And then anger leads us into sadness and depression and who knows where. It's important right now that we process these feelings and maybe lean on others in church and higher power, whatever we can do to heal and really turn it into a positive.
Well, I think for us, you know, what I'm doing and what I'm encouraging our congregation to do is, you know, when I thought about this incident, you know, I'm a pastor, right? So I'm going to always go back to Scripture, and I thought about David before he became king. He was living in a town called Ziklag, and no one cares. Who cares anymore? But it's interesting that he was there and he was hiding from King Saul. And so he was living in the land of the Philistines. And so they went out one day, he and his men, they left. And while they were gone, this other tribe called the Amalekites came in. And in one day, I mean, listen to this, in one day, they took their wives, took their children, took all of their possessions and burned their houses in one day. So when they came back, they had nothing. I mean, everything you care about in the world, right? Your wife, your children, your possessions, your house, gone, left.
Yeah, wow.
And this says that they wept, David and the men wept until they had no more power to weep. So I think crying, mourning, grieving is healthy. It's good for us. You know, I tell people, don't deny yourself that.
Yeah.
You know, it's healthy, you need it. You know, they did that. But then something very interesting happened. It says, then David's men decided to stone David. What? Stone David? David didn't take your wives. David didn't burn your houses. David didn't take your stuff. The Amalekites did. You know, and it's a very interesting human reaction, right? That when something happens that we can't reason, doesn't make sense to us, we want to find someone or something to blame.
Always, yes.
Always. And it's almost like I want to take all of my anger and my wrath out on this. Well, the real problem here was not David. The problem was the Amalekites. That was the problem. But it says, but David encouraged himself in the Lord. And I think we have to move in that direction. You know, becoming bitter, angry, hate-filled, it's this one's fault, it's that one's fault. And we see a lot of that going on in our community and in our nation. And what I always try to do with myself, and I tell other people, is, you know, find the real enemy. You know, the real enemy isn't this person, it's not that person, it's not this group or that. The real enemy, honestly, really and truly, let's tell the truth today. The real enemy is the guy that did it.
Yeah.
That's it.
And we need to remember that.
That's him. He did it. If he doesn't do it, none of this happens. This wasn't a mass plan. No, it was one guy, drove in 10 hours, came to our city to hurt people. You know, And even hating him isn't going to change anything. All it's going to do is infect us. You know, I hope that in our community that we will not allow ourselves to become infected with his infection. I'm not. Hate is infectious.
Yeah.
Fear is infectious. It'll jump from one person to another. Hate's the same way. You know, I feel sorry for the guy. I may shock people when I tell them this, but I've prayed for him. You know, that guy that did this is somebody's son. That's somebody's brother. Somebody's friend. Now, I'm not saying what he did was right. I think what he did was horrible. But wow, how are those people feeling? You know, they didn't raise him to be that way. And even if they did, okay, but I'm not going to give in to that. Yeah. You know, and we have to be careful, I think, that we don't allow ourselves to become what this group or this person or that want us to be. No, let's be who we are. You know, and take what you hold to be powerful and personal and important and magnify that and hold on to that.
Everybody here, including the community, they're all hurting from this traumatic event. And so we come alongside them as a ministry of presence, just to lift them up, encourage them, and to give them hope. Because right now they feel there's no hope, but to give them hope in Jesus' name. Most of the time, of course, people grieve in different stages at different times. We need them to know this was not their fault. They had nothing to do with this. El Paso's strong, and they are strong, and they will overcome this. Right now it seems like doom and despair, but as time goes, they'll see just how resilient and strong they are, and before long, this community will be tighter than it was before this traumatic event.
There's people calling from California, from Ohio, from Wisconsin, from Nebraska. People calling in and saying, how can we help Operation Hope with these funeral expenses that are going to mount up to a lot? Well, we ask them. We don't ask for a donation. Honestly, we don't. I said the funeral directors themselves offered to go ahead and do this out of their own pocket. Betches Funeral Home, Sunset Funeral Home, Martin Funeral Home, Mount Carmel, and etc. Every funeral home in El Paso, right away. El Paso is a loving community. Okay, this gentleman, he came from 600 miles or so away. He's not from El Paso. El Paso is not like this. Please get this misconception of El Paso being a bad city. It's not. The initial, you're shocked, you're numb, and then you start hearing about people giving blood, and the lines were enormous that they had to postpone it for another day. People bringing food for the, like you said, the media, the police department, first responders and stuff. The outpouring of support from El Paso, and I applaud El Paso and I love El Paso. I know we say El Paso Strong, which is great, but I just wish it would say El Paso United, because we are united as one.
How can we honor the victims and the people who were I mean, we were all affected. You're from this community, I'm from this community. We were born and raised here. Our kids were born and raised here. But the 22 victims, those names, what can we do to honor them and really pay tribute?
You know, I decided in myself, 9/11, these other terrible tragedies we have in our country, that I'm going to live my life to the fullest. You know, I'm going to love more. I'm going to forgive more. I'm going to care more. I'm going to give more. I'm going to reach out more, because, when your life is over, or your life starts coming to an end, it's not all of this other stuff. It's your relationships.
Yeah. So true.
It's the people that you build, you do life with. It's those casual things, where, I think about times in my life when I've been in an airport or on an airplane or standing in an elevator and somebody turns around and smiles at me and starts talking to me and is nice to me. And the door opens and they walk away. Now, they could have just stood there and looked at the floor. I wouldn't have thought anything about it, but for a moment, we were humans. We connected. We cared about each other. We didn't just ignore each other. We weren't living in our little world. We weren't looking at our little do-nothing screen. We cared about somebody.
It helps a lot, a lot. It's like therapy to me. It's like what I did that morning where the only thing I could say is that I was there inside. I was maybe like 10, 15 feet away from the shooter. Got into the military mode where I needed to protect my people, my raza, everywhere that I needed to do. So I went back. That's when I told everybody to get down and to be quiet. And that's when we stayed there, and then that's when I said in Spanish and English, vámonos, vámonos, let's go, let's go. We come from a culture that we are strong. I was born and raised here, Central Side. My people are strong and they're gonna get stronger. I do stand with El Paso Strong, I do. We are El Paso Strong.
We are.
And we will always be.
You talked about that being human. What about our leaders? They're humans too. And it's very easy also to point the finger at this on both sides. We don't want to touch on politics. That's not what this is for.
Yeah.
But our leaders have a responsibility. What can we do to also help with that healing process as someone who goes out and who lives in this community and who sees them and whatever they use this event that happened for? What do we need to do?
Well, I think for me, what I'm going to do is that I'm not going to get sucked into that vortex. I'm just not. I'm not. This problem, I think, in our country that we have, this hatred, existed long before the people that are in politics on both sides are here. It's been here forever. You're too young to remember. I mean, I remember the first mass killing that I ever saw was in the 60s at the University of Texas when a guy crawled up in the tower and stood up there for I don't know how long shooting people with a high-powered rifle. I don't know how many people he killed. It was horrible. And you know, and it's just gone on and on and on and on. And we're not the only country in the world that has this happen. We're not. Now they act like we're unique. We're not.
Right.
Hatred is a human heart condition. It's not a political condition. It's a human heart condition. And I told some guys the other day, I said, you know, this racism and hatred like this has been going on since right outside the Garden of Eden, you know? So it's in us, and it's a horrible trait. Thank God all of us aren't that way. So I would just say, you know, I'm not going to get sucked up into that. Yeah. It's a complex issue. It's a difficult issue. I don't have a solution for it other than more God in our society, more God in our country, more faith being taught to people. I've seen the impact of that. I've got people in my church that used to hate people strictly because of their ethnicity. They don't feel that anymore. They've repented of it. They've said they're sorry for it. So I've seen the impact that faith can have and will have. And living your life submitted to God and accountable to God, that you have a sense while I lay down in bed at night, well, maybe I shouldn't have acted that way today. You know, that sense of accountability. And I just encourage our people in El Paso, let's not get sucked up into this. Because you know what, and I hope I don't get you a bunch of emails when I say this.
Yeah, it's fine. We'll both get them.
All of them are going to get in their planes and go back to Washington.
It's true.
They're all going to go back to Washington. And then we're still going to be here. And so I'm not going to let that seed get in me. Because guess what? I got to go live with all these people, and they got to live with me.
And is it worth it, absorbing that energy
and
that hate? I like what you said. I'm not going to get involved in it. Turn away from it.
I'm not. I'm going to deal with the guy who's in the restaurant with me. I'm going to deal with him.
The hashtag El Paso Strong, we're using it right now. And are we El Paso Strong? How important is it to fall back on that we are a strong community? We always have been. You said it yourself.
Yeah, I think it goes back again to what the mayor said. You know, this came from outside. This is not us. And I'm not going to let it be. Let's be strong in who we are and have always been. That is, you're welcome here. And we're going to make room for you. You're welcome here.
From myself and the rest of my Studio 9 team, we want to thank you for joining us this week for this very special tribute show honoring the community of El Paso and showing how strong we are. Thank you for joining us. We'll be back next week, as always, showcasing the beautiful people and the city that we all live in.